We are actually going to stick on this live stream, folks. Hopefully, I am coming through. Let's see. Let me know if you guys can see and hear me. We're having some technical issues here trying to do it, which is mostly. Hold on. You guys here? Can you see and hear me? Sorry about that. Jesse usually has all this stuff set up, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I had to. Actually, I didn't know she had mentioned there was going to be a show tonight. So I just got home from work a few minutes ago, and Lady Wolf messaged me, and I had to. Or maybe I mentioned it earlier. I don't know. The last few days have been a blur. So I got it kind of going here at this little point. I don't think I can highlight the chat. I don't think that's possible. So I might just have to kind of verbalize the chat this evening. So we'll do a little brief one here. Like I said, I did not know how to. Hey, Heather Moser, how are you doing? I didn't know how to set the stream up. So you know what? Here it is. We'll roll with this. Hopefully you guys can see and hear me. Let me know that I know you guys can hear me, but let me know that the video and everything is coming okay. This is not the way that Jesse usually sets it up. I had to kind of just jump in and kind of just cobble one together. So anyway, hope everybody's doing well. Sorry about the cancellation this week. We were wrapping something up, and I'll tell you, man, it's like we're living in the 1800s. It's the internet and power is just like out constantly at this point. Most of that's heat caused. We're going through a heat wave right now in my area. My area has like doubled in size over the past like 5 years, and the grid was kind of strained before all this happened. There was a big thing locally here last year where our power company was like, "Oh, the grid's in great shape. Add as many houses as you want." That's not been the case here at this point. So, anyway, Oki, thank you for that, my friend. Again, I can't highlight anything like that. That's why our thumbnail's in the wrong aspect ratio. I don't know what the hell I'm doing without Jesse, guys, in case that's not obvious. I'm the camera guy. I don't know any of this like video production stuff. But anyway, I figured I'd hop on here. I'm sorry that it seems like forever since we've had like a live stream. Jesse did one with the Blondes and Booze crowd. They had a ladies only live stream. I guess it was last Friday. It seems like a month ago. But anyway, as far as like an actual Hellbound Hollow live stream, it's been a hot minute. We were wrapping up a big project that is going to be coming out soon. It was extremely time consuming. I am extremely behind on all of my correspondence with everyone. So if you were waiting an answer from me for something, feel free to go ahead and just throw it at me again. So it's not going to offend me in the slightest because, like I said, I've literally lost track of like correspondence at this point. I actually had Jeremiah Byron from Bigfoot Society had messaged me like a week ago about something. And I was like, why did I never hear back from Jeremiah after I answered him? And then I got on my phone. I was like, oh, it's because you never sent the text. That's why. So I had it mostly typed out and never sent it. But anyway, just kind of go through the chat. And again, I'm going to have to verbalize the chat. I can't put the things up on the screen. I could not get StreamYard to link up with a live stream. There might even be 2 live streams up at this point on the channel. I don't friggin' know. I'm just going to blunder on through this at this point. But anyway, we've got a lot of the usual characters in the chat this evening. Chat probably won't be that big. I barely got the damn stream up right before we went live. And you know how notifications are with the tube. So a lot of them may not go out at that point. But like I said, we got a few of you here. And we will get together and just kind of like palaver for a little bit then at this point. Some of the stuff we've got upcoming, we're as you guys know, this weekend, it's 4th of July weekend. And I don't know what we're going to do with 4th of July weekend. It's I know what I want to do is, if you guys remember that case that we had a while ago where the folks were out camping and set off fireworks, and that they reported to us that something came in, something got ticked off from the fireworks in the woods, and uh, they were under the impression that it was like Sasquatch activity, and that a Sasquatch in the area had gotten irritated with the noise that they were doing and came up to their campsite. We were actually talking about trying to get up into that area again, because the next mountain over, there is a spot. This is in the North Georgia mountains. The next mountain over is a spot where I know in the past we've heard them setting off fireworks. So I think it's a pretty safe assumption, the way that the sound kind of carries and echoes over through there, is they might be doing it again this weekend. And it would be kind of cool to get up in there and see if anything got stirred up. In years past, we wouldn't really try to go out on firework centric holidays like that. And we just wouldn't mess with it. But because we figured that there'd be too much noise pollution. Well, now we're wondering, after that account, maybe we were wrong. Maybe we need to be out on times like that. The only problem is that area is, I don't know if we can access that area on foot. The road that used to leave there got wiped out by Hurricane Helene. We would have to go as far as we could via vehicle and then traverse the rest of the way in on foot. So, and even then, when we were up there exploring in the past, and I really need to, you know what, I'll go through and see if I can find that footage. If I don't know if Jesse's ever put it up or not. We tried to get in on foot, and there was a path that wrapped around the side of like a mountain. Well, that mountain's now just sheer. The whole path's gone. We actually tried to, there were some tree roots dangling, and we were going to try to like go hand over hand through the tree roots and see if we could, like, find some level ground on the other side of just this big mass that had like basically slid off the side of the mountain, but everything started to give way on us. We didn't have enough rope. So we ended up turning around at that point. So, but there might be another way to access it. So I don't know. Jesse and I are on opposite schedules through the middle of the week. So we just kind of trade a few text messages back and forth. And she was trying to look at see if there was some updated satellite imagery to kind of get an idea if there was any way to get into that area on foot. So whether she found it or not, I don't know. So we might, you might see something from us, or if because what we need is we need a wide enough space with the right facing to be able to like upload the Starlink Mini and then just kind of go live and see if anything happens for a while. I'm hesitant to even talk about it because I don't know if it's doable at this point, but that's kind of on the agenda. If we don't have a suitable Starlink location, we might just go in on foot if we can get in there and post up some cameras and like a recorder and see if we hear anything like answering the fireworks, if there's fireworks. It's a pretty safe bet. That area, it doesn't really have any like recreational activities anywhere nearby. But when COVID shut everything down, we noticed that people were going to an old pull-off on the next mountain over, and they were just kind of partying there. And when we were out there, and I can't remember if it was like Memorial Day or Labor Day one time, on the mountain where we've experienced weird stuff, we heard fireworks in the distance. And to be honest with you, we just kind of packed it up and left because we were going, that's going to chase off anything. Now, our way of thinking is kind of evolved. First, there was that story of the people setting off fireworks at that old campsite. And then some of the activity that we've experienced, especially in the Blackthorn area, we have realized that something is often vocalizing almost in response to man-made sounds, airplanes, stuff like that. So that's kind of on the back burner right now. When Jesse and I link up Friday night, we'll see if it's doable. See if it's doable at this point. If not, we might just try to get it on foot and record it and then put that video up later. But anyway, I'll kind of go through the chat here a little bit. This is going to be an abbreviated, man, and I wish I got to figure, it's terrible. cobble together like audio recording equipment out of like spare parts for a particular investigation. But scheduling an effective YouTube on live stream, which like 12-year-olds do all across the country every day, it's completely beyond me. So, see what else we got. And if you guys have anything that you want to bring up tonight, like I said, it's been a while since we all got together. Cody Cox, hiking LBL in a couple of weeks. Did anybody recommend a good spot or trail to get started with? Cody, you are a channel member, so we have a Discord for channel members. I think you're on there. The Discord's wild. It's a blur. That's a blur as well. If you're not on there, nobody post a link in the live chat because this is a public video, but I'll post a members post as soon as we get done with this on the channel with the link to the Discord. And I'll give you a couple places that might be of interest for you at that point, Cody. So, lost your login ability. I don't know if that means you can't get into Discord or you just can't get into that Discord. Let me know, and we will go from there. Miranda wants to know how the fundraiser is going. That is Jesse's project, and we have way too many irons in the fire right now. Let me see how her GoFundMe is going at this point, because our original goal on that GoFundMe was, first, it was just going to be the money I donated, and then everybody else kind of came in. We are at, oh, good Lord. We are at $4,615 with an original goal of $500. Now, that is for the Bethesda group that Jesse has talked about. The Bethesda group is a organization that provides much needed services to child survivors of abuse in the Oklahoma area. This kind of started out as a whim and then got more serious with us as we looked into it deeper. But they provide a lot of stuff out there. It's a few people that are fighting the good fight, trying to do a lot with very little resources. They just lost all of their federal funding due to cutbacks. So they are basically just privately funded at this point. They do a summer camp every year. And now the donations that we are doing are going to be slated for the summer camp unless they need them for something else more crucial. Jesse's been talking to the director a little bit, and they're doing like really good work. They do a summer camp where the kids get some much needed therapy in addition to some equally important like normalcy. The typical summer camp type things like arts crafts, but it's being organized and kind of led by people who are trained in how to make sure that kids like this that face these challenges are able to kind of like they can enjoy them just like other children can, so they can kind of get to be normal kids for a while. So it costs $250 a pop to send one of these children to this camp. We saw some stuff from the previous one they did, and it's awesome. It's awesome. They took some of these kids to like one of those like destruction rooms where you like bust stuff up, which when you think about it, it's pretty therapeutic. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of cathartic for a lot of kids like this. And it was just, it was terrible. I don't want to get choked up thinking about it. But one of the kids, after they got done, just, and you're busting TVs and doing all this stuff, spray painted the word survivors on the side of the wall, which was like extremely impactful. So I'm going to see if I can find the link to it. Lady Wolf, if you have the ability to share that, because I can't get into it on this laptop. I'll see if I can try to get. That's Jesse actually messaging me going, did you just try to sign into the GoFundMe? Yes, I did. Now, the GoFundMe that we've got set up, we don't see any of those funds. Those funds go directly to the Bethesda organization. So there is absolutely no question of where this money goes to. You can see that on there. We do not no one has access to that money except for those fine folks. It will go directly to them, and they will see if this works. Bam! Just got it in the chat. And a lot of the hellbenders have gone above and beyond in that at this point. They have opened a notebook to check for a link. So they it's a really impactful organization. One of the things that I had said when we were talking about this is that people that are in the paranormal and Bigfoot communities and all of that, regardless of what your thoughts are, regardless of what your theories are on this stuff, regardless of where you fall at with a lot of these different things, one of the things that's kind of a unifying bond with all of us is that all of us have managed to maintain like a certain level of a childlike sense of wonder into our adulthood. We're still captivated by like the mysteries of the world, whether we've had personal experiences ourselves or we just have an interest in it. All of us are basically kids at heart. And a lot of these children have had to grow up way too quick, and the whole idea of this was kind of maybe rekindle some of that childlike sense of wonder for some kids who really need it. Bethesda is the only organization in Oklahoma that really does this. They do a lot of stuff with the Native American reservations that are through there. They don't have a lot of resources. One of the things that struck us was for the education level of the CEO of this organization, and most nonprofits, that person would have a salary, probably $250,000. The CEO with Bethesda is pulling in a very, very modest salary. And you can tell that this is a passion project for a lot of these people. That's one of the usual complaints that people have with large charitable organizations is a lot of the money goes to the people at the top. And that is not the case with Bethesda. They are into it, man. They are into it. And when we kind of told them what we were doing and how it was growing, they were ecstatic, and they just thought it was a cool idea that a bunch of Bigfoot hunting weirdos were involved with something like this and trying to help some kids out. So anyway, I hope that everybody, some of you guys have just gone, Surviving the Strange says Joe just called all of us immature. If the label fits, my man. But anyway, we'll share that periodically throughout the stream. I don't know how long I'll go tonight, but it's an absolutely phenomenal project, and it's kind of cool, man. It's kind of cool that you don't really see a lot of charitable stuff coming out of the community sometimes, and I'll be honest with you, we're guilty as charged. I mean, a lot of times I am hyper focused on immediate needs that we need for these investigations, like keeping the equipment going, just the, we get pretty hard at it, and we're pretty rough on stuff. And a lot of the equipment that we use, it's not specifically made for two Bigfoot hunting weirdos to run around in like the elements and use it with. So there's a consumption rate with a lot of this stuff. We consume a lot of this equipment. We know all of it has a pretty finite lifespan with us. And a lot of times I'm hyper focused on that. And for this, we ourselves, Jesse and I, sponsored one child for it. That was $250. That came out of our personal pockets. Didn't come out of anything that's related to Hellbent Holler. And it and quite honestly, that contribution has been dwarfed by other people in the Hellbent Holler community. And it has and the Paranormal Roundtable community. Josh Turner, I think, is up to like $400, $350 or something like that he's donated. The Blondes and Booze crew, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, other people have donated. Tons of Hellbenders have really gotten into it. They've really been the backbone of this entire thing. And it's just been very cool. We were going to shut it down on July 1st just for a time consideration. Some people asked us to keep it rolling for a little longer. So we'll probably put it to bed. I don't know. That's up to Jesse next week or so. I don't know. But like I said, it's going to be great to have it's going to be kind of cool to do something good. I mean, a lot of times this community is really defined by infighting, feuding, kind of petty behavior, and this just, this just this kind of shows that, maybe we can rise above all that, and it's been pretty well confined to a fairly small segment of the greater Bigfoot and paranormal community, and we're hoping that it'll spread past that. And again, I do want to reiterate, you can go look at the GoFundMe and it shows the recipient of this money. I myself, not the most trusting person out there, so I would, if that is anybody on the fence on where that cash goes to, and if you feel like it, by all means, go check it out. It shows the recipient of it at this point. Some of you guys have donated directly to Bethesda and mentioned Hellbent Holler. They mentioned that to us when we were talking to them. That's equally great, man. You know what I'm saying? That's equally great. It's just really cool to kind of be just involved with a group of people like you all that just have just jumped at this. It's just amazing. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely amazing. So like I said, we are at 46.15 on that. And even 46.35. Somebody just donated $20 to it. So anyway, and we'll see, man. We'll see how long we run that for. And it's and I know that everybody's here for the Bigfoot talk and everybody wants to do that, but it's kind of cool to kind of transcend and kind of get beyond a lot of the pettiness that goes along with it. At least it was for us. So a couple little things here. Somebody had asked earlier when the next investigation video is going to be coming out. Jesse is working on the next installation of Blackthorn. And I know that we're being kind of hush hush about a lot of this stuff, about why we've been a little, absent to a certain extent. Those of you in the chat might know, please don't spill the beans, but it'll be apparent pretty soon. But Jesse's going to be getting the next Blackthorn video out relatively soon. Probably later than what she wants, because I'm kind of putting my foot down with her at this point. She has been burning the candle at both ends. She has been just doing a absolute, just insanely great job with everything. And like I said, I know that new content's been a little lacking throughout the past, 4-6 weeks. A lot of you people have stayed with us through the membership, which is great. Just to kind of help keep funding all of this stuff. We're greatly appreciative of that. And we're really lucky in the people that have kind of surrounded this whole Hellbent Holler project, whatever you want to call it. It's bizarre. We've got people that are channel members that every month help out with the expenses of all of this. And you would think that those would be the people that would be, for the most part, going, hey, man, where's my videos at? Where's my content at? And unanimously, those are the people that have been going, you guys need to slow down a little bit at this point. So, but that is not the case. We're so eager to get back out there at this point into some of these areas and going, surviving the strange. It's hotter than hell outside. I don't know how anyone would just expect you to go sweat. I've done some solo stuff. It is hot, man. I had a really weird. I've lived in the South my whole life. You know what I'm saying? And I've always been active. So I am used to what happens when you start to overheat and that feeling. I was out in Blackthorn solo, and I'm probably not going to put this footage up because it's nobody wants to hear it. But I had I just had a weird, I don't know, man, like allergic reaction to something. My sinuses and my eyes just started going crazy. I first thought maybe I'd gotten insect repellent or sunscreen in my eyes. I can't swear that didn't happen, but I blinked out of contact because I wear contact lenses halfway out. So I'm blind standing in the middle of those old roads that are in Blackthorn, trying to get my contact resituated. I'm just gushing sweat. My sinuses are going crazy. And I had to basically kind of get out there with half an eye. And my biggest fear was, all right, I'm on this old road, stay on the road. I'm hoping I don't run across a snake, but the heat got me, man. I'm thinking it was somehow my body just reacting to the heat at that point. Because I think the heat index was 108 or something. And it's just, you couldn't keep sunscreen or insect repellent on your body because I was just gushing sweat out. I tried to go into a clearing. I thought it was bad in the shade. I tried to go into a clearing on one of those like solo ventures to set up the Starlink, and being out in the sun for like 5 minutes, I was done. Everything overheated, the battery unit for the Starlink, the action cam, everything I overheated. It was crazy, man. So, um, but yeah, the solo videos are an ongoing experiment. Video is not frozen. I'm choosing my words here. Is an ongoing experiment to see how these phenomena and myself have kind of evolved together. I'm always very open about the fact that I never really had much happen like solo to me. I had, a sighting of something when I was a kid in the Boy Scouts, maybe, or maybe I dreamed it. I don't know. Um, I had a few like kind of weird paranormal-ish things happen when I was a kid in the house I grew up in that I've never really talked about. But even then, over I'm very aware of the fact that over the years and over time, your recollection is subject to evolve. You know what I'm saying? It's your memories change with age. I'm aware of that. And I always like kind of just even take my own memories with a grain of salt. But uh, I've always talked about like, I was involved in Bigfoot research, not publicly, but for years, and kind of trying to chase that, whatever I saw as a kid, maybe. And I never really saw anything. And I'll be honest with you, I really never had much happen at all. And it was something that I would kind of drift away from and then kind of come back to. And then it's weird because the passion for this stuff kind of got like, reignited for me in New Orleans, because I drifted away from it for a while, just from lack of activity. I didn't like being in like standardized Bigfoot groups. I knew that they were important for like social aspects, people's like social structure, but I didn't really want that. I just wanted to try to find like, wanted to find Bigfoot. I wanted to find like evidence of Bigfoot. So for me, it was always a very solo thing, and it never really paid any dividends at all. And then I kind of got back into it about a year or so before I met Jessie. And then she and I relocated back up to the Southern Appalachians where we're from. And we started going out. And that's when I started to really experience stuff regularly for the first time in my life. But Jessie's always been the catalyst on that. And in the past, I've always gone out solo, and I'll go into active areas and nothing happens. There's just nothing there. And it was frustrating. You know what I'm saying? It was very frustrating. And it's confusing to a certain extent. And you don't know whether, there's always that trope that women attract a lot of these phenomena more readily than men do. There are certain things about Jessie's like background and makeup that might play into it. I don't know, but it, it's always been me as kind of an observer there. When you really get down to brass tacks with Hellbent Holler is basically, I'm like the Greek chorus. I'm there observing, telling you what's going on, whether it's by holding a camera or doing whatever. And I'm kind of observing what's happening in front of me with this weird, like, interplay between like Jessie and like whatever's going on out there. A lot of times I'm a bystander. And quite honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm an unwelcome bystander. And in the Blackthorn area, especially, we've had a few things happen. I got hit in the face with something, not heavy, not massive, but it might have been like a walnut or something, but it hit with enough force to leave a red mark under my eye and missed my eye by just a very, like an inch, something like that. One time out there solo, it felt like something got thrown at me. Something came in sideways, and it looked like it was a pointed triangular rock that had gotten pitched at me. And it's just, so it has felt like I'm getting some interaction, but it's something that doesn't really want me there. It's interaction, but it's telling me to basically get the hell out. So what I've been doing is kind of going in there solo some to see if that interaction kind of continues, if Jessie's not there, or if it's only happening when Jessie's there and it doesn't want me there. So that's been kind of the ongoing experiment for it, is to see that what's changing. Is anything changing? is anything changing as far as like the way these phenomena interact with me individually? What kind of started that up was that settlement investigation we did, where something we think called me City Boy, and my nose started bleeding, and I saw that black static figure. Jesse didn't see that at all, and City Boy, obviously, that was directed at me. And she heard that rah sound. I didn't hear it. She heard it, but I didn't hear it, and it seemed like it was addressed at me. And I don't know. It's odd, but it seemed like we were kind of moving beyond just me standing there witnessing this stuff, and all of a sudden it was interacting with me to a certain extent. So it's the main reason for the solo ventures, and the solo ventures are starting small and they're building. The heat has kind of waylaid me a couple of times with this. I've had a couple of weird things happen that might just be, I went one time, I don't know. I'm going cautious and I'm going slow with this because it's a dangerous area. Blackthorn's a dangerous area. And I talk about that ad nauseum, that there's old barbed wire, whatever's putting glass and metal up in the trees, the old wells, everything like that. If you take any cryptid or paranormal activity out of there at all, it's still a dangerous place. You know what I'm saying? My big fear is falling down an uncapped, unmarked well that just has like some forest debris on it. That's my big fear going into that area. So I'm trying to go as cautiously as possible, but you still got to like be out there. And one of the things that we're going to get a little weird with the conversation, but one of the things that's really kind of been been on my mind a lot during this is, if these are just animals, they're there regardless of who's there. And yeah, they might be a little bit more active and be a little bit more like show themselves a little bit more when certain people are there. I don't know, man. I'm walking away with I'll tell you where my mind's going to nowadays is the contamination elements of like poltergeist activity, where poltergeist activity sometimes seems like it travels like a contagion, like a virus. It spreads from person to person to person. People will go to homes with poltergeist activity and it follows them home. Or sometimes it will spread to a neighbor's house. It'll spread, maybe somebody is having poltergeist activity at their home, and somebody they work with that they're in close proximity to away from the affected location will sometimes start to experience similar phenomena in their house, similar activities. And, we talk about the hitchhiker effect, where it jumps from person to person. It latches onto you. It hitchhikes on you and goes somewhere else, and sometimes gets with someone else. And I keep going back to this. Going, when you deal with like hauntings and like paranormal stuff, sometimes it's not the person that's the focal point of it. I'm sorry, it's not a house that's the focal point. It's a person that's the focal point. And I think that in a lot of these areas, Jesse's like a focal point for some of this stuff. And I think that's why I go into these areas previously and nothing would happen. But then I go there with her and stuff happens. And if you look at the activity that we've been able to like document that we've experienced, some of it's kind of Bigfooty, some of it's kind of Dogman-y, some of it's kind of what you would almost consider the Fae. Even that stuff, if you start to look at it and you just start to take, without putting any filter on it, without putting any like preconceived notions on it and what you think it is, and you just look at what we experience. We've experienced to have stuff thrown at us, weird balls of light, disembodied voices, weird moans and howls, weird smells, which don't really translate to videos, equipment malfunctions. We've seen some weird stuff on thermal. We've seen some weird upright figures on thermal. again, I always talk about this. If we were not in the woods and we were in a house experiencing this stuff, we'd be calling for an exorcist at that point. And I keep circling back to that viral kind of quality of a lot of this paranormal activity. And is it possible that some of it is eventually going to start sticking to me? Right now, if you had to ask me, the answer is no. You know what I'm saying? I can't swear that the thing that I think got thrown at me was thrown at me. It appeared to get thrown at me, but I can't swear it. But I need to explore it a little bit further. I need to kind of just keep pushing like the boundaries there and see if, just by my proximity to all the stuff that I've like witnessed over the last few years, if that's going to maybe some of it start sticking to me. Am I going to pick up a hitchhiker or something like that? I'm a firm believer in that at this point. It just used to be kind of an interesting kind of thing to think about. So that kind of goes into what I kind of threw a thumbnail up for this evening is a lot of this stuff that people are experiencing in the woods, even sightings of like upright, hairy, like bipedal creatures. I mean, I'm telling you, man, if you put away the stigma of the paranormal and ghost stuff, which a lot of Bigfoot people are very anti, like paranormal. If you put away the stigma and it almost seems like you're dealing with some sort of like forest specters at this point. Everything. We find footprints. Well, if you think back, one of the earliest ways for people to detect whether there were ghosts in the house, they'd spread flour on the floor and see if they found like footprints later on where footprints shouldn't be. Oftentimes people will report finding wet footprints where somebody with wet feet supposedly walked across like a kitchen floor, but there's nobody else in the house. We find footprints in the forest that we can't find the cause for them. Bigfoot throws things. Well, I mean, that's one of the classic hallmark things of poltergeist activity. Objects are thrown. One of the things that's really kind of dawned on me after we've spent some time up in the Uwaris, and the amount of stick and tree structures up there are crazy. The stuff in the Blackthorn area where we're finding stuff stacked and finding things placed in weird activity has direct parallels to poltergeist activity, where people come into their kitchen and every cabinet's open and all their canned goods are stacked into a pyramid on their dining room table, or the dining room table and the dining room chairs are all stacked together. There's always this weird stacking element to a lot of hauntings that have direct parallels with tree and stick structures with Sasquatch. Something really likes taking things in its environment and arranging them in a pattern that you look at and you go, this was done consciously. This didn't just happen by happenstance. That's the thing that has really gotten me lately, is the stacking thing. It doesn't make sense. You don't see who did it, but it's obvious. I mean, obviously it's more dramatic when it happens in your home and you come down in the kitchen, there's nobody else in the house. The doors and windows are locked. In the forest, you can't swear who else has been there. The stuff we're finding in Blackthorn's not, unless there's groups of people going in there doing this and then erasing their footprints in and out, not leaving any other trace of themselves or anything like that at all. We've found footprints a couple times and it's our own prints. So that environment has the ability to take footprints, but it's not taking anybody else's other than ours. So I keep circling back to this, man. Is it possible? And everybody always hears that what you think is like a wacky theory is like Bigfoot, just like, the ghost of like a Neanderthal or something like that. And I'm going, well, maybe not a Neanderthal, but is it possible that you're seeing the remnants of something that used to be here that's not here anymore? Now, if you ask my personal opinion on it, I don't think ghosts are the spirits of dead humans. Keyword think. I don't think. So therefore, I'm not really inclined to think that. But if I'm looking at this and I'm just going, well, is that what we're seeing? Now, some of it seems to be interactive and intelligent. Some of it, I mean, if you really look at it, a lot of like Sasquatch sightings, the thing doesn't even acknowledge the people that are watching it, which seems odd to me, at least. You would think that something that's stealthy and that intelligent and with that just, overwhelming desire to remain hidden, uh, wouldn't be seen in the first place. But it's just some of them, when you listen to these reports, it's almost like they're completely unaware or unbothered by somebody witnessing their activity at this point. Uh, you hear about those hauntings that are basically just recordings of the past playing over and over and over again. And then you have intelligent hauntings, which are more interactive, much like more, some Bigfoot activity is more interactive. There's a back and forth with you. And again, to me, I struggle with that because I'm going, if this is a flesh and blood creature that's wanting to stay hidden, and obviously it wants to stay hidden, there's a conscious decision to stay hidden. Why would you respond to gifting? Why would you do anything at all? Because, you're obviously intelligent. Do they just not comprehend the fact that the person that they're interacting with is going to go tell other people about it? I don't know. You're dealing with such little information. But I keep going back to that, man, that what we're encountering out here, even in the Bigfoot areas, it's spectral almost, man. It's something, it's something else. Maybe it's the same type of like disembodied energy, intelligent energy, and it just, depending upon its setting, it kind of dictates how it presents itself to you. In an old home, you're seeing, visions of people wearing, 19th century clothing, standing in your living room, staring at you, or, that quintessential, like, little kid ghost that, is wearing clothes several decades out of fashion. And then all of a sudden you jump into like a more wilderness area and it's all of a sudden kind of like expressing itself in the manner of which you would expect it to be, something of the forest, like a creature of the forest, the wild man. And, a lot of this stuff, when you talk to people, they think that there's an element of co-creation to all of this, that the witness themselves has the ability to kind of help form or shape whatever they're seeing at this point. But, I was kind of going through and compiling a lot of the stuff between Sasquatch encounters, class A and B. All right. Class A being you saw a Bigfoot. It's right there. You saw it. You can describe it. If you can draw, you can draw it. Class B is I didn't see a Bigfoot, but stuff happened to me that we're going to attribute to Bigfoot because what else could it be? And if you look at them a lot, and I pull up my notes here, the vocalization portion of it is obvious, when you're in the woods and you hear screams and whoops and growls and howls and whatnot, those exact same things a lot of times are reported in haunted like locations, haunted houses. And a lot of times it doesn't sound human. People will report it. And of course, at that point, you default to maybe it's like demonic in like nature at that point. The knocking portion of it. What's one of the things that you always hear about when, you're dealing with, with ghosts, with spirits, even ghost hunters will knock and see if they can get a response knock, a disembodied knocking. Well, that's exactly what a lot of Bigfoot hunters do with tree knocks. They bang on a tree and then they try to hear hear a responding similar sound that has no apparent source. They don't know what the source is for it. The bad smell aspect of it, you get that with a lot of like haunting type stuff. All of a sudden you just get like an overwhelming bad smell with no apparent source and then it disappears. We've experienced that with Sasquatch activity. The gifting portion of it, where people, like Tom Powell and other Bigfoot researchers that have dealt more on the woo side of things, will sometimes leave objects in their gifting area and then travel back home hundreds of miles and later on find that exact object there. That object has been basically, somehow mysteriously transported with no apparent vehicle of transportation. You see that in both hauntings and with like Sasquatch activity at that point. The stone throwing is like a big one for me. It's that I keep going back to. I mean, we've had stuff tossed at us and we can't find anything on thermal. But then other times we see big upright, and you guys have seen them. We've shared them when we've gotten them. We've gotten big upright, very large upright figures on thermal. Why can I see them then at a distance, but when something gets thrown at me and it's obviously closer, I can't find it then? One of the things we've noticed in areas that have Sasquatch activity, and it happened in that area where Jesse saw that black figure and she ran off like a crazy person, a large shadowy figure that seems to just vanish. You hear that with ghost stuff all the time. You see a shadowy figure in your home and then you go and it went down the hallway, and where did it go to? It's gone. There's no way it could have gotten out of the house from here at this point. You get into like glowing eyes. Now that's something that's only reported in more like extreme type haunting stuff. Red disembodied glowing eyes. That's a pillar of like a lot of Bigfoot related stuff. Weird atmospheric changes. Now you get that with Sasquatch stuff. We've experienced that where you get like sometimes the cone of silence or just that weird, creepy, oppressive, eerie feeling. Well, that's something that is commonly found with hauntings and like actual buildings. You go in and a room just feels wrong. I got a cat in the room. If I keep looking over here, somebody got trapped in the podcast studio when I set everything up. Come on, let's get you out. Get on out. Go on. That's our older grumpy cat, not Thomas, the one who likes getting on the screen at this point. The big one is the fact that both of them tend to avoid what you would call definitive like documentation. It's there on the fringes and on the edges and in like a very liminal manner. And you can find it with let's just call them liminal tools. We struggle, and trust me, we try. You've seen Jesse and I try. We try to get stuff on camera. That's our whole goal for being out there. And it's difficult. You catch little glimpses, but then like the tools that are kind of on the fringe, the stuff that's measuring the stuff that's there, but you can't see with the naked eye. We get a lot of stuff on that, man. Thermal. We've caught in weird lights before. We caught that burning light with the full spectrum camera and the thermal. We did see that with the naked eye to a certain extent, but it looked really weird on thermal and full spectrum. The sensor tech that we use, there's stuff going on that we can't pick up with our senses, but it's all of a sudden when this stuff goes weird, the electromagnetic spectrum just lights up. That's why we carry a lot of tools that are traditionally associated with like ghost hunters with us, because we're experiencing the same like energy in the woods at this point. So it's just something that I've been really thinking about a lot, because I'm thinking about, one of the things you really hear out with hauntings is a lot of times, now it's usually with younger females who are starting to go into puberty. Jesse's past puberty. So, but it does seem like it, at least in our case, it's attracted to a female portion of it. And when I'm there, it wants me gone. Doesn't really want me there. Maybe, it's something that just occurred to me. Maybe when we were at that settlement and I heard like, come here, city boy, maybe it was wanting to separate. Maybe it couldn't do it, but maybe it was expressing its desire to separate Jesse and I, to kind of like have her there alone. That's part of the reason why I don't really let her go out, like I control her, do anything. That's part of the reason why I ask very insistently that Jessie doesn't go out by herself. And luckily so far she sees the rationale behind that. So she doesn't really go out very much on herself. Hey, one thing that just jumped up, Smog, member for 20 months, man. Smog, your support is amazing. Absolutely freaking amazing. So, but yeah, like I said, that's one reason why I don't let her. She's gonna hear this and just be like, I'm going out by myself now. You don't let me do anything. That's why I am always very vocal about not wanting her to go out solo. And you know what? I think she feels that to a certain extent. I mean, Jesse's a brave person, you get startled by stuff, and obviously there's a certain level of fear that's involved in some of this stuff. But Um, it definitely, uh, I don't know. It's just, I feel like I'm in a place right now where my thinking is starting to evolve with some of this stuff. Miranda Crew, also 20 months. Thank you so much. I wish I could put these up on here, man. So, um, uh, let's see what else we got here. I'm going to kind of go through the chat down here just a tad bit and try to pull up some more of my. Luckily, I'm a weirdo and I sit around and think about this stuff all the time. So when I decided to do a show on the fly tonight, I was able to kind of just pull up some like random notes that I've been taking and discuss it this evening. All right. So let's see what we got. We've got people in the chat right now. See if anybody's got anything that has been way of the sploot. There's been a few times where it seems like separating you two is the goal of the activity. I agree on that. I agree on that. Sometimes it's crude. Sometimes it's very crude. I'll tell you the one thing that stands out to me, and I don't remember what she titled this investigation when she put it up, but when we left her out in that clearing for bait, and those two little points of light kind of came up over her shoulder and looked at the camera and then dipped off. And then later on, there was that light that came out of the ground, like over her shoulder that she didn't see. She had her eyes closed. That was stupid. We shouldn't have done that. You know, that we shouldn't have done that. It seemed like something kind of came in to like check her out, like once I left. Other stuff, like I said, stuff getting thrown at me and me alone just seems like that's a very crude attempt to basically go away. We don't want you here. Other times it has seemed like, and also we don't do ourselves any favors by Jesse having a propensity to just to run for stuff, you know. The one where she saw that black figure and ran after it in the Laurel Creek area, where I got hung up on the tree going under it. I knew I wasn't going to stop her, so I just at least gave her the camera because, you know, and in hindsight, I'm going, a lot of times these things don't seem to want to express themselves around cameras. That was probably the best defense she had running in there at that point. But see what else we got here. Surviving the Strange goes, if Jessie goes by herself, who will carry all of her rocks? Needless to say, when Jesse saw that large hunk of iron ore or whatever it is, needless to say, I heard about that almost every day about how she'd really like that giant piece of iron ore that probably weighs 50 pounds, if not more. Mr. Booberry goes, my theory is the better the digital technology is, the harder it becomes to capture versus old school analog cameras and audio recorders. You know, I keep going back on that. I don't know. It's analog film is a whole nother like animal. And one of our things that we do constantly do is we're always trying to film. We're always trying to make sure that we're still filming. And that's a lot easier to do on digital than it is on analog. That's going to be next to impossible to do on analog. I don't know, because when you look at, let's just take Bigfoot, for example. Yeah, we've got the Patterson-Gimlin film. You've got some others that people will debate whether it's true or false or not. I don't know. But I'm also like, does the electronic, like the digital media, I don't know. I go back and forth on that. I'll tell you one thing, the digital equipment like audio recorders and cameras seems like it gives whatever is out there more of a broader playing field to be able to express itself and show us that it's there. We are going to experiment around with like with an analog type camera as well, just to see what we got there. Did you, Cynthia asked, did you slow down the video of the thrown rock to see the trajectory? No, because I didn't get it on video. that was on when I was on my way out. Everything had like overheated. I started the camera back up at that point. And like I mentioned on there, I'm not 100% positive that's what got thrown at me. It just seems like what got thrown at me landed there, and then that was laying on the grass. It came in kind of at an angle, like sideways and across. It didn't fall from a tree. Um, there was nobody around there that I could see. But at the same token, I got to be honest, I'm not 100% positive that's what got thrown at me. So it came from, at least the flash of it that I caught, kind of behind me and to my, to my side. And that's where I threw it back at them at that point. But all right, let's see what else we got here. Not going to repeat that comment. Mr. Blueberry goes, my reasoning is whatever it is can drain batteries, can corrupt digital data versus data being written to the tape physically. Yeah, we're going to experiment with that. The only problem is you go through a lot of like tape, like videotape, film tape. You could only do that in like small batches. You can only really do that in like, and I'm not saying there's no value to that. It's just that I've got to learn that technology. I'll be honest with you. One of the things I don't know. It's an experiment we're going to like dive into at this point. And it's probably the strangest going. I remember back in the day when digital recorders became consumer grade, all the ghost hunters said you needed to use tapes, not digital. And Cynthia goes, does the digital equipment give them a heads up? Whatever is going on out there does seem like it is interactive with electromagnetism and electronics and everything from battery drain and battery discharge to wiping my SD cards and screwing them up and all sorts of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we've had equipment that went out that never worked again, and it just seemed, it does seem like there's some sort of interaction with that. Shouldn't be physically possible, but it is. Mr. Blueberry, running analog with digital at the same time might be interesting to compare. Yeah, Jesse's actually got a old analog film like camera that I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't know anything about cameras or any of this stuff before we started like Help and Holler. The amount of cameras I have right now is shocking. But I didn't really know anything about cameras. So my personal experience is with the cameras that I have used with Help and Holler, which have been that particular model of Sony camcorder for the main cameras, the action cams that we use and stuff like that. I have never used an analog video camera in my life. I learned these. So I don't see why I couldn't learn that. But like I said, that's something that we're going to have to incorporate down the road. It's definitely going to have to be very targeted in its use. It's not something that we can run all the time. My action cam, I throw an SD card in there and it tells me I've got like 26 hours of 4K recording. And, I'm not going to have that capability with analog. So we'll see. Maybe we'll kind of give it a shot down the road. Excuse me. Anybody got anything else? Throw it up in the chat here. But that is Ventus Broma, member for 14 months. It does really seem more Fey-like than cryptid in that area. I'm gonna be honest with you and it sounds crazy, but most of the areas we've gone into, the activity seems more Fey-like or paranormal than what I would expect from like a living, breathing family group of intelligent apes. That doesn't make sense to me. I keep circling back to, and I know it makes me sound like a crazy person, and I know it alienates a giant portion of the greater Bigfoot community when you talk like this. But all I'm dealing with is I have stories that I'm hearing from other people. There are encounters on podcasts, things that are written in books, and then there's what I'm experiencing personally. Now, what I'm experiencing personally does not discount or negate other people's encounters. But on the flip side, their encounters don't negate my own personal experiences. And my own personal experiences are that there's something out in the woods that does seem like it gives the impression that it is a big, hairy primate, but is doing things or is accompanied by phenomena that don't make sense for a large, hairy primate. And the Grove, especially, man, when I was in the Grove, I'm just going, it's like Fey activity. Little footprints on the shore with large canine prints, all of the weird stuff that happened, that weird random thought that went into my head that whatever was out there wasn't going to kill us because it was having too much fun messing with us. And it's weird because when you start talking Fey, again, you get into that boggle threshold. Even people in the paranormal and cryptid communities can swallow the Bigfoot pill a lot easier than they can when you start talking about what for them amounts to like Tinkerbell from Peter Pan, even though the Fey phenomenon is so much more dense and nuanced and complicated than that. It's what people think when they hear Fey. They go, oh, fairies, and you even lose people that would otherwise have very, very, very open minds about weird stuff. So Bigfoot Michigan Rob's in here. What's up, buddy? See what else we got here. Ventus Bruma, $5. Thank you so much for that. I wish I could do that. Super chats are open. I can't share them, but they mean the world to me. Fun fact: Appalachian Mountains are so old that they exist before the Atlantic. So the Scottish Highlands are the same mountain range. It is, and what's strange is the parallels between activity that the people from basically what were the Appalachian Mountains on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, settled in the Appalachian region when they came here, the Scotch and the Irish and everything like that. And that the activity that they're experiencing seems to be very similar to what their forebears like experienced over in like the old country at that point. Well, yeah, the sploot, the Fae could be using a canine type entity for transportation, a bit of a stretch, but it could be. And those footprints, and that's in the one of the videos that Jesse put out where she just, and you know what? What's weird is we catch more grief of people just going, oh, that's fake, for that particular video. And I'll tell you why, because we're going down when we're filming that video. This whole area is around a lake. So there's little peninsulas that jut into the water. And we were trying to move down to the ultimate end of that peninsula and go down to the very end of it. And Jesse all of a sudden just veers to the right and goes down and goes right to where those prints are. And I've had people go, it's a bunch of BS. She just heads right to them. And I'm like, yeah, I know. She heads right to them. She just veers off and like heads right there. It's gotten to the point now where I don't even argue with those impulses. And I think in some of the later stuff, you've even seen me go, follow your gut. What is your intuition telling you right now? Okay, let's do that. But those little footprints and then those alongside canine footprints, and I've had people that weren't there just casually explain all that away to me. There's no sign of a boat pulling up in the sand there. Okay. Those footprints did not come out of the water. They just appeared on the shoreline and then traveled for a bit and then just disappeared. Small footprints. And I wish I was on StreamYard right now. And, but because I could put them, but if you ever look at the White Sands footprints and that are in New Mexico, that they discovered, they're from 23,000 years ago, and they're adults and children. And or at least 23,000 was the latest date. It might even have been pushed back since then. But they look damn near like a lot of the prints that were there. Now, here's something else we've never really talked about before. Those prints, if you go back and look at that video, a lot of them look like the White Sands prints, people that from 23,000 years ago that had never worn a shoe in their entire life. One of them had like weirdly elongated, like, think it was like the middle toe was like weirdly elongated on like one set. One set, if you looked at, gave me the impression that it was a more normal child's print from like a modern child who had worn shoes, at least partially, but that the toes were splaying out because of the sand a tad bit. Now, I might be wrong because they didn't look that way when you looked at it, but I almost went, man, that almost looks like, and I'm going, what are you getting into then at that point? You're getting into the changeling phenomenon. Has there like a human kid like running around with whatever's out here at this point? That's like a bridge too far, but I don't know. Very odd. Vince Room, you should look at body cameras. Maybe put them on your bag to see if something pops out behind you, or just on Jessie, considering everything seems to focus on her. I wear a chest cam in my point of view short like videos that I've been putting out. I wear a chest camera for it. I experimented with a back-facing cam. Most of the areas we're in, I need to do a demonstration video to show you guys what I'm talking about for it. Back-facing cameras work on certain areas really well, other areas not so well. But what happened to me with my back-facing cam when I tried it out a couple of weeks ago is the sun was so hot, it melted and it didn't like drip, but the rubber of the gasket that provides like tension to keep the camera upright wherever you put it melted, and the camera dropped down. And I was like just filming the backpack of my backpack. It was the most frustrating thing at that point. So anyway, see what else we've got at this point. If anybody's got anything, go ahead and throw it up here real quick for me. I'm not going to go super, super, super long tonight. And again, for those of you who've thrown super chats in, I'm greatly appreciative. Thank you so much. And like I said, I wish I could put them up and share them. Sorry, a little dead air for you folks here. Anyway, all right. Way the Sloop, just happy to see you guys rested. We crashed out Tuesday. I hit by about 5 p.m. I was done on Tuesday. I was just done. I was done. I fell asleep and got like some really good sleep last night. I'm going to get really good sleep tonight in case we decide to do this 4th of July kind of experiment type thing out. So I'm going to make sure that we're well rested for that, because I'll tell you, man, the heat has just been like hitting us like hard, man, hitting us hard. Even I had been out in one area and I did 3 miles I could have sworn we'd gone like 10 miles at that point, man. I was done, just drenched in sweat and everything. So kind of go back through the chat just to see what else we've got. And again, I apologize about the disorganized thing. Jessie and I will be back in the saddle again soon, and she will have a much better, more professional presentation on this. But you guys let me know what you think about the topic we talked about earlier, as far as are we dealing with something, with Sasquatch, to kind of circle back to the show topic, that maybe it's like a ghost. Maybe we're dealing with something that was just so different than the other like life forms around it on Earth, that when it died off, it left like a little bit of itself, and you still see that little bit of itself. That it's kind of gotten into this weird hate to overuse the word liminal, but kind of like in a weird liminal state. It's here and it's not here, because that's pretty much the definition of Sasquatch, isn't it? It appears to be everywhere, you know. It appears to be in almost every state in the union except for Hawaii. And I don't know if Hawaii has any Bigfoot type things. I've never heard it from out there. I never even looked, but let's just say it's in 49 states out of 50. So it's everywhere, but yet nowhere, because we can't seem to definitively capture evidence of it. And quite honestly, that seems almost like what I'm describing, like a spectral type thing. It's there, but it's not there. It's everywhere, but it's nowhere. Lady Wolf, member for 20 months. Best mod in the business there. What's up, Ghetto Yeti? So anyway, Nutslap with a very... Nutslap thinks it can move between densities, basically affecting its density. And I'll be honest with you, it appears that way, you know. And that's weird to us, but maybe wherever it comes from, it's not so weird. I always think that, like, maybe if there is some sort of like if it's coming from somewhere else, maybe what we're seeing is very common wherever it's coming from. Maybe something like, you know, I don't know, what's a real esoteric kind of like cryptid entity. Everybody always goes with Mothman, but something like, you know, the white things, the big white sloth looking things. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe those are like as common as like squirrels wherever they come from, you know, and they're just kind of coming over and then going somewhere else at this point. All right. All right, guys, whatever y'all got here, go and throw it up, because I'm gonna wrap it up in a few minutes. Goshawk just showed up. Like I said, Jesse, she'll be getting that next Blackthorn video out fairly soon. I think she's already got a chunk of it done. I'm not sure. I stay with my equipment and I leave the magic of video editing to her at that point. So Bonnie Blue goes, maybe it has something in its makeup that affects the way we perceive the light spectrum, bending light, or maybe it physically bends the light, or maybe it has the ability to reach out to where we process the light bouncing off of physical objects in our brain, and maybe it has the ability to kind of blur stuff a little bit, or I don't know. Like I said, it's just so crazy that we again, it's Walter Ballard goes, do you think it's trying to communicate with you? Not with me, not yet. And again, like I said, I when I presented that little triangular rock that I thought got thrown at me, if nothing similar like that happens to me solo out there, I'm going to assume that that's not what happened, and I misinterpreted what I experienced. Maybe a very heavy acorn fell, hit a branch, and it redirected it. It was moving pretty fast. I don't think that's the case, but I can't swear it. But no, nothing seems to be communicating with me on the regular. The only time I've experienced stuff like that, you know, I had that weird thought in my head in the Grove, where I was so frustrated because my recording equipment kept failing. And for those of you that remember that, I would set up long duration audio recorders at the house, and they would work perfectly. I would get them on location in the Grove and they wouldn't work. And it got to the point where I was like testing them again when we parked and left the vehicle, and they would work. But then I would get in there to where I wanted to place them and they wouldn't work. And it finally, like, just, you know, it peaked with the fact that I watched the recorder burn out in front of me. It just burned out. It never worked again. Screen kind of flat, and then it just stopped. It never turned back on again. I finally threw that damn thing away because but we're leaving out and I'm super frustrated. And I look at Jesse and I'm just like, I'm super frustrated. It's been super weird. We didn't think anything was going on there. And I literally looked at her and I was just like, we're going to end up like dying out here. Whatever's out here is going to like get us, you know? And I had a weird random thought that just instantly, it was intrusive. It was intrusive is the best way to do it. And I struggle with the idea of mind speak. And I'm not even telling you that I got mind spoken to. Maybe it was just my imagination. Maybe it was like exhaustion, dehydration, just the stress of the moment. And I had a weird random thought that seemed intrusive, but it was very odd and very pointed. And it was just like, oh, we're not going to kill you. We're having too much fun effing with you. But it said the full word for effing, messing with you. And then so I had that happen. And then I had the thing on the settlement thing where I saw that black figure and my nose started bleeding. That did not seem like friendly communication to me. You know what I'm saying? But then again, you're not speaking this thing's language. You know, we're interpreting anything we experience through the lens of being human, and we're dealing with things that aren't human. And maybe the way they say hello, how are you, causes my nose to bleed. You know, so West Virginia Bigfoot Project, you guys are awesome. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. So anyway, we're gonna wrap it up. I think everybody's kind of like ready to roll. I appreciate you guys joining me. Sorry, this was just kind of thrown together. We will let you guys know what's going to happen this weekend, if anything's going to happen this weekend. It's hard to tell what we're going to get up to, but that's my kind of idea right now, is that we might try to do that to see if, of course, we could get all the way up in there and go through all that trouble. And there's nobody a mountain over setting off fireworks. Who knows? You know, we live in redneck country, man. Rednecks like to go in the middle of nowhere off the side of an old road, drinking, like set stuff on fire. So, anyway, we appreciate it, everybody. We are going to let you guys know what's coming up. And like I said, next time you'll see my lovely assistant next to me, and this will be a little bit better off. So we appreciate it, guys. Thank you all so much. Everybody have a good evening.